What up? I am live here. You can hear in the background, listening to No Shoes Radio, hanging out. What is that? That is a something else. Nobody's in here, so nobody's gonna see it. Couldn't have told you what it is, but nobody's in here. But I'm just hanging out. See if I can get anybody to hop in here.
So I work at the main shop over in Marshfield. We opened this pop-up on Nantucket. My boss is Dan and Jess. Let me come out.
What up, Jen?
Hey, Dan and Jess.
Hashtag.
Have a tea, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they gave me a place to stay. I get to be out here for 3 weeks before surf camp starts.
What up? Da-da-da. I'm just hanging out, being live. What is this? Oh, I could start a poll. Do shopping. Chat viewing and things.
We're talking about this music festival, and our buddies were like, are playing on this music festival. It's really great. So that's why we kept coming in to learn about the band.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out, being live. I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, somebody's in here. Who's in here? There's a person.
Thanks for listening to No Shoes Radio, everybody.
Kenny Chesney's No Shoes Radio.
I don't know. I'm just hanging out, whoever you are. Can't see who that is. What's up, Daniel? How are you doing? Just figured I'd pop in here live. Didn't have a video together for the week. Did the Northwest Overland Rally. Been working on some other things. Been working on and to sell. If you're looking for a low mileage excursion, that sucker 136 or 7,000 miles, and it is clean. So just getting it shined up on the outside, and inside's perfect. And about to help them post it for sale. So hanging out, waiting for the shade so I can finish washing it instead of washing it in direct sunlight. Do you do the same thing? I hate washing stuff in direct sunlight. It feels like it dries before you can actually dry it. But I just figured I'd hang out with you guys, see if anybody was around. If anybody had any questions for me. Anybody had any excursion stories that they just want to, feel good about sharing. I don't know. Yeah, what are your excursion stories? Give me comment below. Tell me some things. Ask me some questions. Tell me some stories. Do some randoms. You're listening to No Shoes Radio in the back. Just chilling. Waiting for the shade around here. It's so funny. The sun is so intense up here in the Pacific Northwest that even at it's like 80 degrees. And it's so hot. I don't want to be in the sun. It's pretty. I feel like such a baby. It's really funny. So yeah, that's what's happening. Bob excursion, camped in him this week. Camped in him, I don't know, 2 nights. I need to do more camping. Let me get that. Oh, I should get my tire table out. I got this cool new thing that I really like. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, got any excursion questions? Anybody that's on here? Can't tell who is on here. But if you have any excursion questions or any other questions for that matter, I mean, I'm just sitting here. All right, here we got Nice ride suspension setup that isn't tall. A good ride for fire roads that isn't lifted more than 4 inches. If you want to axle shop it. Um, so, uh, I'm a big proponent of very low lift. I don't really see any reason to lift it if you're gonna axle swap it. Just grab the coils out of the truck you're gonna get the axles from and level the back with something. It really is. It's like a 2-inch lift, so it is a little bit of a lift, and you can fit, I mean, whatever size tires you want, pretty much. Um, that's a 40 on the same on 2 inches of lift and a shackle flip. So there's or an inch and a half of lift. It's like nothing. You got to do some trimming, but 35 should clear no problem, and 37s if you want to get a little bit more trimmy. The 40s, I feel like if you don't have the boat sides done and you're not going to do that, I think the amount of cutting you'd have to do to make a 40 fit really nicely is probably not the best. Honestly, I am so impressed at the way that these Skyjacker products ride. And I've got a coupon code to that, Geeks4x4 10. You get 10% off. And I am so impressed at their shocks. And this Jeep right here has their springs. And holy smokes, the springs ride so nice. And so that would be another option. If you want to go 4 inches or 3.5, 4 for an excursion, you could use the Skyjacker 2.5-inch coils for Super Duty. And then you could, I think Skyjacker actually makes a complete soft ride leaf spring too, for the rear but I think it might be 6 inches of lift. So the rear's a little bit hard. You could just do a block on the factory, or you could get that Skyjacker spring and run no block, I guess, and then bring it down that 2 inches. So there's obviously a lot of options. If you're gonna keep towing, I would consider not doing a soft spring, doing the ATS, or doing a C code in the back for towing, and then just knowing the back is going to ride a little rough. Put Skyjacker shocks all around, put a good coil on the front, and get the tires down. These things, with the tires aired down, they've got enough weight that they push around really nicely. So if you're going to be on fire roads, run them at 35 or something, and or 30. I mean, you can run them pretty low. I'm running these on the bead grips at like 8 when I go rock crawling, and it works just fine. This truck weighs 76 with me in it. So, yeah, the airbags are a thing too. You don't want the spring to like have any torque flex either. And so there's a part of the spring being stiff that's going to make sure it doesn't do any rocking or torque flex or anything like that. And so if you're like, I don't know how heavy you're going to tow. If you're going to tow a big trailer, you're not ever going to get to you can't get it soft enough. Like the back of this truck, this still has stock springs on it. And I think with a big trailer, this thing would just be a nightmare because it's just, it's really soft. No sway bars, no any of that on this truck. That's the other thing. If you did a quick disconnect sway bar or something like that in the front, that would help. I ran those sway bars on this truck with leaf springs. But again, if you're going to tow, you really need the sway bars. So it's kind of, you always have your gives and takes. You're never, unfortunately, it seems like there's not a perfectly ideal setup for I want to tow and run fire roads. Yeah, the airbags are kind of going to be your best bet for helping tow, but then you don't want the softest springs ever because you're gonna be sketch. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunately it's a best for you, and what you can try to figure out. Don't do a shackle flip. That doesn't help payload because the shacks collapse easier. But definitely the coil swap. This truck on 40s drives just as good or better than my other truck with leaf springs. So axle swap is definitely worth it. Yeah, I would for sure. Shade's still rolling in. We'll see. I don't know. Does that answer your question, or does that just make it more confusing? It's, you know how these things are. It's hard. Garage doors popping. Anybody else have any excursion or other questions? Drop them down in the comments. Run them through. Sit here and answer questions for a little while. Just hanging out. I don't know if I can go over to like Instagram and tell people I'm live. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You guys know I'm live. Looking at my rock scratches. I might put this video up. The only problem I have with this video being up is that I think it's going to copyright the heck out of it because I've been listening to the radio. So I'll see, but it might take it down because of copyright. So maybe. Maybe I just need to do a video on that. Here's the exact suspension stuff. I don't know. It's like I said, the problem is it's so specific to what you're doing that, you know, I can say one thing and you can go, I don't like the way Skyjackers ride, and that's possible because they float a little bit. The Black Maxes do, at least, and I kind of like it because it kind of softens the ride, but I don't know. So, okay, here's a great question. Do you think it's possible to swim down to the Titanic with 4 scuba tanks? I have no clue. I don't dive. So, yeah, not the right channel for that. But it seems like you'd probably need more, considering the pressure that was in that sub or whatever killed those people. So, yeah, I think you need a lot. Anyway, just hanging out live here, answering a couple random questions. Shoot your questions down below if you got any. Waiting for shade. Finish washing that. Don't worry, it's not mine. Yeah, I can imagine the pressure down there would just be wild. I don't know, like, can you actually free dive to the Titanic? It seems like maybe you couldn't do that. No, I don't know. Be cool. Underwater, though, that pressure that just, like, imploded the thing. Also crazy. Yeah, maybe I will do a video. It's going to be a boring video, just me talking, but yeah, maybe. It's such an interesting thing. Such an interesting thing. Everybody's suspension setup's gonna be different. Everybody's gonna ride different anyway with their wheels and tires, even if their suspension setup is the same. Your wheels and tires have a lot to do with that too. So I mean, if you're running a 20-inch wheel, you're not gonna ride near as good as somebody running a 16, just because of sidewall. So we've got all those things to consider as well. And if you're towing still, you probably just want to go to a 35. I don't want to go to a 37 towing. Now we are hitting the about the 15-minute time. Yeah, I think 17 and a 35 is probably your sweet spot. And like I said, you can run that with a 2-inch lift really easily. Just be prepared. I would show you on this truck where to cut, but you can't really see because it's all gone. But like, you're gonna cut right at the back of the wheel well, and probably the plastic valance on the bumper. And you know what? There's no reason to run a 4-inch lift to get 35s if that's your only rubbing points. Yeah. There's no reason to run a 10-inch lift to run 40s because, yeah, your weight. You want to keep that weight down low. And plus, climbing into the thing. This is hard enough to climb into, and it is like only 6 inches taller the way it sits than the stock one. So, well, now I have a real stock one sitting here, and it feels really low. This low mile one is completely stock. Stock springs. The motor's never really been touched. There's an exhaust on it, but that's it. Shocks might be stock. I don't even know. Yeah, low ride height is, I mean, for towing and off-roading in any way, to keep it low is the name of the game. So if you got to trim a little bit to keep it low, I am 100% for that. That's why this thing still has the front coils. I really want to run those Skyjacker 2-inch coils, but it still fits in the garage right now, as you can see. My doors are 7 foot. So this truck, it rubs on, I don't have any of the crossbars in the roof rack, but it rubs on the roof rack and the actual roof of the truck on the little rubber snubbers getting into the garage. So, and I don't have to air down, but if I still kind of want those 2-inch springs, so I have some spacers in there currently. That's like a 1/2 inch of spacer in the front, and so I'd gain like 1.5 inches in the front. So I don't know. I'm debating on it. It might make it. I might do them and then like do a steel winch cable and try and suck it down a little bit because it's heavy. I don't really know. I don't really want to cut coils, but you know, it's not that heavy. Yeah, the V10 is not that heavy. It's kind of nice. Shade is about hitting the rear doors of the truck, so we're about halfway there. I've just been sitting live, talking to some folks about suspension and random Titanic questions that I've never thought of in my life, but thanks for the random ones. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I got a couple people watching. If you got any other questions, hit me up. Hit them down low. There's Kenny Chesney, No Shoes Radio in the back. Just hanging out Sunday afternoon, you know. Chillaxing. Got some more work to do on this truck. Bumper needs to be polished. And I gotta finish washing it, you know. Four link? Dang, that thing flexes great. Yeah. It's awesome. I wish, as you can see, the control arms hang down super low. I wish they didn't hang down as low. Oh yeah, it's way better than the radius arms. Yeah, way better than the radius arms. With the radius arms, you could jack up one tire at the front, and the other side would drop like 2 inches, and this 4-link will drop as far as it'll hang. It's got limit straps in it now. Didn't have them with the radius arms. So yeah, if you're gonna do it, I mean, obviously you could do it right away, or you could put it together. I was dumb because I kind of planned to put the 3 links in this thing, and then I started really talking to people and getting ready to buy the 3 links, and I realized that the PMF 3 links are not actually a 3-link. They're just a tubular version of the control arms, and so or the radius arms, and so I decided not to do that, and I switched, so I had to buy new brackets. That 3-link would work really well, though. It's just not like the hope with this thing is that I can get a stupid amount of travel out of the front And what I need to do to get that is actually make a thing for the spring to ride up and down on, so that I can't drop the spring out of it. Because the problem right now, that's why the limit straps are in it, is that the spring will drop out of it. The shocks have 3 more inches of down travel, so I got to build like a sleeve the spring can ride down, and then put a clamp on the bottom of it and make it to where it can ride up and down. And that will give me more travel, quite a bit more travel. And I also think I might be able to get more travel out of it than coilovers that would fit in here and keep it pretty low. So I've been kind of playing with all that stuff, the ideas of all that stuff, and I think I might end up staying with coil springs and building something for the springs to ride up and down on, so that they don't drop out. So that's, yeah, it's pretty fun. I think it has, I don't know, I didn't put it on the CTI trailer in Moab because I had bent that bracket. I didn't really want to mess with it. I just needed to get home. More up travel help. I have like 3 inches of straight up travel to the bump currently, to keep the tire out of everything. So you'll have more up travel with a smaller tire. Yeah, I mean, up travel is kind of set where it's going to be. Down travel for an off-road rig, for a rock crawler setup, down travel is your friend. Down travel's king. You're not, because you want to keep the center of gravity low, so up travel is like, whatever it is, up travel. And then, if I can get 3 up and 6 down, I'm doing really good. So, that'd be pretty sick. 9-10 inches of travel out of this truck on each tire would be a really good setup to me, I think. So, we'll see. I gotta box the frame now. That's one of my next things. Got spacers in there. Richard Chrisman. I don't know if I can answer that one. No, I like the sleeping setup. I wish it was lower because the 40 is too tall. So I can't sit up on top of the bed. That's the only thing I wish. But I also like having a 40-inch spare. I could take the second row out, but I like being able to have 5 people. I'd leave it with the second row and up a lot of times, so no. Hey, Daniel, we're all learning, man. I just played with it, and I'm glad I can help a little bit. And, anytime you got a question, always feel free to comment. Feel free to email, do whatever. I'm here to help. I've done a bit with them. Haven't done everything, obviously. There's guys that have done front-end swaps and, motor swaps and all kinds of stuff like that, and I haven't gotten into any of that. But, or mirrors. I haven't even done mirrors. But, yeah, I've sure played with the suspension a bit on them. I got one of each. I got my other one set up to toe, and then this one flexes pretty dang good. I'll go find my CTI sheet from before, but it didn't do too bad on the CTI trailer the first time. The front was pretty terrible, but the back's decent with the leaves. I need the plan for the back of mine, which is another thing to throw another wrench into your plans. In 2008, the springs were longer, and I guess 2011 they got more leaf pack or more leaves in the pack, and so they're a little bit softer ride even. But the longer leaf is supposed to give you a softer ride and more payload. And then so PMF makes a bracket that you replace the front spring hanger, and you can put the longer spring on it. And so that's the plan. The plan for this is, I don't know if I'm going to use Ford springs. I might, if I can find some at a junkyard, or just like scrolling through Facebook or whatever. I think 2011 plus somebody said are better. So I'm going to try and find those. If I can't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Alcan Spring out of Colorado make me a set of springs for the back of this thing, because off-road springs, leaf springs, have a lot of leaves in them. They're thinner leaves, but there's a lot of them, and so they handle the load, but the thinner leaves flex better, so they actually can move both up and down, so it would ride better, I think. And I actually bent the leaves on this. I took out the bottom two leaves when I first built it to get it low enough, and so the upper three actually bent and sagged out in like a year and a half of wheeling it. And so I don't know how long it'll stay again, but so far it's still rubbing the garage door. That's my tell. When I first built it, it would rub the garage door just barely, and then when I put the little two bottom springs back in, I was rubbing like a lot more. And so when it stops rubbing the garage door again, that's when I know I had to figure out something to do with the leaf springs. So it's, you know, a good thing. Next on the list is a cross member for me. Boxing the frame and a cross member. So you can see the cross member down there is hanging way below the frame. And now that I've clocked the transfer case, sorry, not transmission. Now that I've clocked that up, I can make the belly of this thing like almost flat past the control arm mounts. So essentially, what the plan is to build a cross member to hold the transmission that's pretty flat, and then build some sort of brace between the two control arm mounts and box the frame. So the brace between will be part of the cross member and will hold the other half of the skid plate, and then the cross member will hold the back, and there will be like 12 inches of skid plate behind the cross member covering the transfer case, and then a section, and then 12 inches in front of the cross member, and then hopefully I can figure out how to make all of this bolt together so that I can remove the skid plate and the brace between the control arms if I want to change the transmission fluid. So it's a mess. Yeah, so they have got the factory 4x4 coil trucks. They've got braces like right behind the coil mounts, which makes sense. That's where a lot of the load is going to be held. That's where all the load is held, actually. The reason that I bent the frame is because of where the control arms are, how low they are, as I was sliding down rocks and stuff, the entire way to the truck was on the control arm. So the newer, I looked at a 14, I forget what truck my buddy Off Pavement has, but I reached up in his, and it didn't have any extra gussets above the control arm mounts either. So, unfortunately, above the control arm mounts is not braced. So, if you're not going to drag it over rocks, I wouldn't worry about it. And that is why I would think about their Y/3-link setup instead of a 4-link. But if you are going to drag it over rocks, you need to build, you need to box the frame above it, or build some sort of gusset. Like I said, I'm going to build the crossbar between them and box the frame is kind of the plan. So I get some work. The problem is passenger side, the exhaust is right in the way, so I'm going to pull that back off. And then on the driver's side, all the fuel stuff. So the fuel filter and all the fuel lines are over there. And so essentially I'm going to have to relocate all that stuff so that I can box the frame where it all mounts. And yeah. So this is not, the bend that I did is not something that would have been fixed having a coil sprung frame, because those gussets are on the front cross member under the motor. So yeah, they're not exactly helpful to rock crawling a 4-linked excursion. So you know, details. All right, still hanging out here, hitting the 30-minute mark. I don't know if I've ever been live for this long on the YouTubes, but it's been great talking to you. Search and rescue, yeah, no, you'll be fine. I would, like I said, I would use PMF 3-link and get those lower profile mounts, and the flex and stuff you'll get from the coils and that 3-link setup will be excellent, and you'll be way tucked up and stuff like that. So, plus small tires, it's just, I think smaller tires with this 4-link hanging down would just be, I think there's only like 14 inches of clearance or something underneath it, or 11. Like it's with 40s, so it's just really low. That's just how it has to be for the geometry to be right. I talked to PMF about creating an actual 3-link, where they use like one of their Y-links on one side. It's like that's a possibility that happens one day, but for now, I'm going to try and make this 4-link work. It flexed so good and worked so well that I would like to make it work. So, you know how those things go. But I mean, you can see it also looks really low because the body's cut. So, but like it hangs down below the frame like 7 inches or something, I think. So, but it puts the arm really straight. Yeah. So I could probably play with it and move it up a little bit, but I don't know. Yeah, search and rescue. Excursion's a great rig for search and rescue. That is excellent. Just sit there and stare at it. Look at my terrible welds on the bottom of the door where I capped them. But I like the way the rock sliders came out in the boat side setup, kind of. People get so mad when I call it a boat side. It's really funny. I don't know what else to call it. I cut the freaking body up. Any other questions? Wind's picking up. What did that do? Did it take... Alright, I'm back. If my camera went away. I don't know what happened. Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna kill this thing. I'm gonna let her be done. It's out here for a little while. Nice talking to you, Daniel. Good luck with your build. I hope you can get something. Like I said, get some of these apex valves and air yourself down. Or the tire right deflators you can just set and then just drive off, essentially. Because you can tell them what PSI to stop at. So, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, airing down the tires is pretty much the best thing you can do for these trucks. The weight just pushes the sidewalls around. So, alright guys, I am going to end this. Appreciate you asking some questions, and maybe I think it'll save it. I think it will. I don't know. It should be up there as a live. And yeah, all right. We're gonna talk to you guys later. Bye bye.